What's happening, everybody? Justin Czar with bowhunting.com back here. We're winding down on day one of the 2025 ATA show, and I have a couple products in my hand that I will admit I was very excited when I learned about these products earlier this year. You guys may have already seen these, may have already seen a video I did on them, but I'm going to tell you about them anyways again because that's how much I love both of these products. These are two new Easton arrows that came out for this year. This is the 5.0 and the FMJ Max. So I just sat down with the folks over at Easton and I was talking to them. And what I said was, if they were a fly on the wall for all the different team meetings we've had as Bowhunter and I team, or just me and my buddies sitting around having a couple beverages, talking about all of our gear, the one thing that has come up time and time again over the last few years was, I wish they made an axis that was a little bit lighter, right? And it was like Easton heard all of us talking about it when they came out with the 5.0 for this year, right? For me, like, this is everything I've wanted in an arrow. So USA made, carbon arrow, high quality. It's a 5mm 204 ID arrow. So same basic specs as an Axis, but in a lighter arrow weight. And what I love about it, and I know a lot of guys out there are in that same boat. You know, I shoot usually somewhere between 65 and 70 pounds, 29-inch draw length, pretty standard measurements for most of us with our bow hunting setups. With my arrow setup, I've always been right on the cusp of 340 or 300 spine. Which should I shoot depending on how much weight I wanted to run up front. I wanted to run a little bit more weight, 50, 75, 100 grains up front, something like that. But the problem was, if I tried that on a 340, it broke my spine down too much, so I really needed to be running that on a 300. The problem was the 300 on an Axis was a little bit more total arrow weight than I personally wanted to run. So I was always in this kind of conundrum. Do I go up to 300 and shoot a little bit less weight up front? You know, do I stay down at the 340s? I've always stayed at the 340s and ran a max of maybe 50 grains up front. Well, now with this Easton 5.0, like, my prayers have been answered. I can go to a 300 spine and run a bunch of extra weight up front that's gonna break that spine down a little bit and just kind of be the perfect setup for me. So the Easton 5.0, again, is kind of a lighter version of the Axis that's gonna allow more versatility for those of us that like to run weight up front without going in those crazy high total arrow weight numbers. As you can see here, I've got two of these that are fleshed with an AAE hybrid, one of them with a blazer. The difference is the AAE fletch vanes are the match grade, so this is gonna be a little bit straighter tolerance. I think this is 1/1000th tolerance, tenths, hundredths, thousandths if I'm doing my decimals correct, whereas your standard is, I think, a 3/1000th tolerance. So you've got your standard Easton 5.0 fletch with a blazer. Your match grade has got these AAE hybrids on them. In my other hand, I'm holding the FMJ Max. Again, same situation. The FMJ is an amazing arrow. I've shot a few deer with it and it performs awesome. It's a heavyweight, just bad to the bone arrow that's great for big game hunting, but it's pretty heavy. The FMJ Max takes that, you know, proven FMJ platform, which is your carbon core wrapped in aluminum, and it makes it a little bit lighter for this year. So the FMJ Max is actually gonna be closer in weight to your standard Axis if you've been shooting those. So if you do want that extra weight and you want that just extra power, you know, that the FMJ provides, but you didn't like the total arrow weight of a true FMJ, now you can run an FMJ Max. It's got a badass like diamond plate green finish on the outside. It's just a really cool looking arrow. As you can see, we've got two different fletching options as well. So the same deal. The match grade, which is gonna be the highest straightness tolerance, is gonna run the AAE hybrid, whereas your standard FMJ Max is gonna run a blazer. So these are available in a bunch of different spine options, so you can tinker around and toy around with them. Both of these arrows are made in the USA. I believe they may be the only arrows made in the USA. Now, let's talk about components. Here in my hand, I have got the new half outs for your 5mm arrows. So these are gonna fit your 5.0s, your FMJ Maxes, as well as your regular FMJs or your Axis arrows, right? So these are available in two different weights. You've got a 55 and a 75 grain version. What this is, it's a half out outsert but it's got a collar built into it that actually extends down over the end of the arrow. Little O-rings on the back of them here that's going to help center that insert in the arrow. You slide it down in there, and what you're going to get is this collar here is going to actually go over the end of the arrow by about, I don't know exactly how far that is. It's probably close to a ½ an inch. What that's going to do is provide protection from the end of the arrow, prevent those side-to-side kind of blowouts that you may have with the standard half-out configuration. Again, available in 55 or 75 grain weights, which is awesome depending on how much weight you want to run up front. Now, if you don't want to run these half-outs, you could still run a standard hit insert, either a standard or a brass hit, along with the impact collars on the outside. So fully compatible with those, along with these new components on the outside. So, you know, guys, arrow components are one of those things that have been, arrows, I should say, and arrow components, one of those things that's a really hot topic in bow hunting right now. We know more about arrow weight and FOC and penetration and trajectory than we've ever known. And I think a lot of folks are gravitating towards wanting very specific setups. They have a specific total arrow weight they're looking to achieve, and they have a specific amount of weight that they like to run up front on their arrows. The introduction of these two new arrow shafts in the Easton line is just offering more options for you guys to custom build your arrows to the exact specs that you're looking for, and I think they're gonna be a huge hit. I have a couple 5.0s in my quiver. Hopefully I could shoot a deer with them before our season ends in Illinois. Sorry to be long-winded on this one, but I'm very passionate about my arrows and my arrow conversation. So make sure you check them out, Easton Archery, the 5.0 and the FMJ Max.